Good afternoon, my love. Good afternoon, Daquan. I'm glad to see you here. Good afternoon, Tiana. Good afternoon, Paris. Good afternoon, Malik. Good afternoon, Ms. V. Good afternoon, Genesis. Good afternoon, Torian. I hope you guys are having a good day so far. It is beautiful outside, so when we finish class, if you have any work to do, get that done, and then take a second and step outside. We're going to be working out of week 5's packet today. We should be finishing that packet up today. So if you have it, get your week 5 packet. If you don't have your week 5 packet, go ahead and get some line paper or some copy paper and a pencil. You can write the questions down because as always, I'll have the questions on the screen and we'll be going over the answers. Good afternoon, you all. Good afternoon, Calera, Marquette, Antoine, Lamia. Good afternoon, Miss Eastside. Go ahead and type your answer in for the first warm-up question. And again, we're working out of that week 5 packet today. If you don't have it in front of you, go ahead and grab that packet. And again, if you don't have that packet, then get some line paper or some copy paper and get a pencil, something to write with. I have one person posted their answer to the warm-up. Good afternoon, Darren. 2 people who have posted their answer. 3 people. Great job. Warm-up question number 1. What is overproduction? What is overproduction? And if you're not sure what overproduction is, if you go back into that week 5 packet and you look in the article that we left off on, the article that you should have been completing for homework, overproduction is one of the terms they defined. Good afternoon, my love. Good afternoon, Isaiah. Sanaya. Good afternoon, twin. All right, keep them coming. I got 6 answers so far. 7 answers. What is overproduction? A, having too many of the same gene. B, producing more offspring than the environment can support. Or C, genes that are too strong. Giving y'all 30 more seconds and I'm moving on to warm-up question 2. I have 7 people who put B. Great job so far. And again, we're in that week 5 packet. If you don't have the week 5 packet, that is A-okay. Make sure you have some paper and something to write with, though. Make sure you write the question and the answer. Good afternoon, Kwalik. All right, we got 8 answers so far. Moving on to warm-up question 2. Warm-up question 2. Based on what you know about natural selection, what would happen to a palm tree, cactus, and an evergreen tree in a hot climate? This one actually asks you to apply what you've learned. Based on what you know about natural selection, what would happen to a palm tree, a cactus, and an evergreen in a hot climate? And for those of you all who need a reference, an evergreen is a Christmas tree. An evergreen tree is a Christmas tree. Your options: A, the palm tree and cacti would thrive. B, the evergreen and palm tree would thrive. Or C, the cactus and evergreen tree would thrive. And thrive means to do well. So again, I'm going to read that question one more time. I have 3 people who posted answers so far. Great job. Thank you, Malik. Thank you, Genesis. Thank you, Tiana. Thank you, Elizabeth. We got 4. Lamia, we got 5. I got, good job, 6. Thank you, Marquette. Thank you, Antoine. I'm at 7. That question one more time. Based on what you know about natural selection, what would happen to a palm tree, a cactus, and an evergreen tree in a hot climate? And again, an evergreen is a Christmas tree. Your options: A, the palm tree and cacti would thrive. B, the evergreen and palm tree would thrive. Or C, the cactus and evergreen tree would thrive. Great job. Great job. Thank you, Destiny, for joining. Good job. Good afternoon, y'all. All right. Moving forward, I'm at about 11 answers so far. Moving forward to warm-up question 3. What is genetic variation? What is genetic variation? A, mistakes in our DNA. B, a lot of different genes. Or C, animals that have strong genes. What is genetic variation? Put your answer in the comment section below. Put your answer in the comment section below. What is genetic variation? A, mistakes in our DNA. B, a lot of different genes. Or C, animals that have strong genes. Good afternoon, Ms. Radden. I got 1 answer, 2 answers, 3 answers. Good job. 4 answers. 5. Good job. Thank you for those of you who are on top of it. I'm at 6. I'm at 7. Great job, y'all. 8. Thank you, Torian. Thank you, Calera. Thank you, Destiny. Thank you, Darren and Genesis, Tiana, Marquette, Elizabeth, Sanaya. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Quali, I love the fact that you gave an answer and an explanation. Thank you, Daquan, Good afternoon, Samuel. Thank you, Lamia. Thank you, Samuel. All right, moving on to warm-up question 4, our last warm-up question. And if you would like to join today's live, you get double the points. Make sure you send that request now at that time, or wave a hand in the comment section if you can't send the request, and I'll go ahead and invite you. Again, if you want to join the live, go ahead and send that request now. Warm-up question number 4. Which of the following is an example of an adaptation? A. Hummingbirds having long, skinny beaks. B. Squirrels living in trees. Or C. Plants dying from air pollution. A. Hummingbirds having long, skinny beaks. B. Squirrels living in trees. Or C. Plants dying from air pollution.
I'll say...
Don't tell us yet. Don't tell us yet. Hold on.
Okay.
But thank you for joining. All right, we got a few people who put their answer in already. I got 1, I got 2. I have an A and I have a C. I have 2 A's and 1 C. Keep them coming, y'all. Keep them coming. I got 3 A's, 4 A's. I got 4 A's and 2 C's, 5 A's and 2 C's. Good afternoon, my love. How are you? Keep them coming, y'all. Keep them coming. Last warm-up question, and we got to get started. Which of the following is an example of an adaptation? A. Hummingbirds having long, skinny beaks. B. Squirrels living in trees. Or C. Plants dying from air pollution. Which of the following is an example of an adaptation? Moving forward in about 20 seconds. Type your answer in. Good afternoon. Type your answer in the comment section. I got another A. All right. So we're at about 7 A's and 2 C's. All right. So, Daquan, I'm going to ask you to guide us through. We're going to go back to our beginning. So, again, we're on that week 5 packet. We're finishing up that week 5 packet today. So now you got to make a choice. Either B or A. Pick one. We're on that week 5 packet. We're talking about natural selection as it pertains to genetics. And so our objective for today, can you read this to us, please, Daquan, and help us break it down?
Okay. Give me a second.
Okay. I think we had some issues with some video. Does anybody else want to try and join so we can go over our objective and get started for today? It's okay, my love. Thank you for trying, though. All right. Can you read the objective to us, please, and get us started for today?
By the end of the lesson, doctors will be able to explain, model, and analyze genetic adaptation in order to evaluate natural selections.
Great job. How many verbs do we have?
4.
We have 4. What are those 4 verbs?
Explain, model, analyze, and evaluate.
All right. And what does it mean to explain, my love?
To teach.
Great job. What does it mean to model?
To show.
Fantastic. What does it mean to analyze?
To break down.
And then what does it mean to evaluate?
To judge.
Great job. All right. Can you give us the definitions in place of the verbs, please?
Sure.
By
the end of the lessons, doctors will be able to teach, show, and break down genetic adaptations in order to judge natural selection.
Great job. All right, so moving us forward, going through our warm-up questions. Warm-up question number 1, it said, what is overproduction? What answer did you have for number 1?
I put B.
B was correct. What did B say?
Producing more offspring than the environment can support.
And where did you find that information?
And page.
I shouldn't be muted. You should be able to hear me. If you can't hear me, try logging off the live and logging back in and see if you can hear me then. Or try turning your volume all the way up.
She likes it. She can see, but she can't breathe.
Yeah, she's gone over the question, but she said the answer was B, and she's trying to tell us where she got that information from.
No.
Good afternoon, my love.
Oh, let's try this up so we can
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm glad you can hear me now. All right, so where did you get the answer for warm-up question 1 from?
Okay. I'm finding it, that's one.
Oh, no. You don't have to tell me the page. I'm just asking where did you get it from?
Oh, I get it. I got it from the text.
Great. All right, beautiful. So for those of y'all who needed help with this question, it was at the article. Most of you all had it right. But again, overproduction is making more babies than the environment can support. Warm-up question number 2. It said, based on what you know about natural selection, what would happen to a palm tree, a cactus, and an evergreen tree in a hot climate? Which answer did you choose?
I picked A.
A, the palm tree and cacti would thrive. Why did you choose A?
Because it said there that the hot climate
Okay. So what does a hot climate have to do with the palm tree and the cacti?
that like the hot climate is where the catty can drive the palm trees.
Okay, so let's break that down because thrive means to do well. So where do you typically find palm trees? In a hot climate or a cold climate?
In the hot climate,
You're right, in a hot climate. What about cacti? Where do you typically find cactus?
you find them in the desert.
Okay, and
Kind
what
of.
would you say the climate is like in the desert? Is it hot? Is it cold?
It's hot.
It's hot. Okay, and then an evergreen or a Christmas tree. Where do you typically find Christmas trees?
I think in the hot place. Hot.
Not necessarily. Think Christmas tree. When you think of an evergreen tree, you typically don't see those in deserts or in rain.
Oh, so in the cold climate.
In the cold climate. So the palm tree and the cacti have adaptations that help them survive in hot climates. Like a cacti, like we said last class, has really long roots so that it can pull water from multiple different places that are not near the cactus plant. And they also have needles to protect it. The palm tree has these big leaves on the top of it that kind of absorb all that sunlight, but also help to protect the bottom of the stem of that tree from the heat. So they can thrive in hot climates, whereas evergreen trees are not made to thrive in hot climates. They're more so for cold climates. Good job. One more question 3 said, what is genetic variation? What answer did you choose?
Oh, B.
All right, B, a lot of different genes. Great job. Now, this is the question we've been going over for the last 4 classes. It's the same question. I literally copied and pasted the slide. Genetic variation is a lot of different genes. And then one more question number 4, which of the following is an example of an adaptation?
C.
You said C, plants dying from air pollution. So think back. An adaptation is something that helps, something like a trait or a gene that helps that organism survive in their environment. So if plants are dying, then we wouldn't want to say it's C. What else might you think it is?
A.
It's A. That is the correct answer. So most of you all had A. I think there was 2 people who put C, but it's A. So hummingbirds having long, skinny beaks because they tend to eat from flowers, or they tend to pull that nectar out of the flower, and they need a skinny beak to be able to reach in and get what they're trying to get to. Squirrels living in trees is not an adaptation. It's just their habitat. All right. So we left off on our actual article, and I'm going to go to the actual article with you all. And in our article, we read this part here. We read the first page where it told us what natural selection was. It told us about genetic variation. It told us about overproduction and competition. And then we read about some scenarios. I'm going to ask you to help us out really quick. I know we left off at the part that talked about antibiotics, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to ask you to help us review really, really quick. So what is natural selection?
Natural selection is it's a popular theory that was created by Charles Darwin in the
All right.
1850s.
Okay, go a little bit deeper than that. Yes, Charles Darwin created it. What does the theory say?
It said the theory suggests that species change over time because organisms with traits well suited to their environments have greater success surviving and reproducing.
Great job. So that is exactly, so she pulled that from that second sentence right here. So again, it's highlighted here in that green box as well. Natural selection is pretty much that idea that if an animal has genetic traits that are given an advantage in its environment, it's going to do really, really well. But if the animal does not have genetic traits that give it an advantage in its environment, it's not going to do really well. The animals that do well will be able to survive and they'll be able to make babies, and their species will continue on. Whereas the animals that don't do really well will die out. They won't be able to make babies because they're dead, and then their species will go extinct, or their species will just not survive in that area, in that environment. All right. Genetic variation. What is genetic variation in your own words? What is genetic variation?
Okay, two there's two same species, but they have two species that have different different
All right, stay focused. I can hear it, so you can hear it. Focus. So go back into that first sentence in that paragraph. It says differences among individuals within the same species are called genetic variation. So how would you put that in your own words?
That two same species that have different genetic variation.
Well, you wouldn't say different genetic variation because variation is differences. That's what genetic variation means. It's another word for difference, right? So you can say they have different genes. So two animals of the same species that have different genes. So the example they gave us in the article was the beetle. So they gave us the same species of beetle had red and yellow. But the bird was able to see the red beetle, so the bird ate all the red beetles, whereas the bird didn't really see the yellow beetles as easily. So the yellow beetles were the ones that thrived in the environment. All right, overproduction. What does it say overproduction is?
If a species produces more offspring than the environment can support, many of the offspring will not survive into adulthood.
All right, so pretty much that's saying that if a species makes too many babies and it's not enough resources in that environment to support all of these new babies, then the offspring will not survive, or they'll not make it into adulthood. And then what about competition?
Since resources such as food, water, and space are limited, offspring must compete for the resources to survive. Individuals with a trait that gives them a competitive
Competitive.
advantages are more likely to reproduce.
All right, so pretty much that's saying when you think about it in our environments, even in the jungle, in any environment you can think of, organisms need food, they need water, they need somewhere to live, and there's always going to be some organisms fighting for that food. So, for example, you might have two organisms that both eat berries. They're going to be competing for the berries that are available in that environment. Now, if you have a plethora of berries, then they might not be at competition. Whereas if they're in an environment that keeps shrinking, so we keep cutting down trees in their environment, and now that environment has shrunk and there's very little bushes that grow berries left, those organisms are going to be competing for those berries. That's what competition comes in and plays a role in natural selection. Now, going to where we left off in the article, we left off at the part talking about antibiotics. So I'm going to ask you, can you read this first paragraph? I'll read the second paragraph, and then we're going to answer the questions that follow.
Okay. Natural selection also applies to microorganisms. The discovery of antibiotics in 1928 changed human medicine forever. Antibiotics are medicine that kill bacteria. Patients take antibiotics in order to treat various infections caused by bacteria. However, the overuse and misuse of antibiotics have created a problem. Some bacterial pollution are becoming resistant to antibiotics. In other words, the antibiotics do not destroy these bacteria as successfully as they once did.
So everybody here has taken an antibiotic at one point in their life. Whether you've had an ear infection, you might have taken another one commonly known as penicillin. There are a lot of different antibiotics that you all might have been in contact with in your lifetime. And what's becoming popular is doctors are typically prescribing antibiotics a lot more frequently than they used to in the past. And so if you go back into the last part of what she just read, it says it's created a problem. Some bacterial populations are becoming resistant, meaning they can survive. Even though you have taken the antibiotic, that bacteria can still survive in your body. It knows how to, it already is immune to the antibiotics that you have taken. So going on to that second paragraph in that section, it says, in any given bacterial population, there may be a few individuals that have the trait for antibiotic resistance, meaning that the bacteria, because remember, bacteria are living things as well. And bacteria, because they're living things, they also have DNA. So because they have DNA, they have genes. Because remember, genes are just sections of DNA. So the bacteria, some bacteria have the genes that make them immune to the antibiotics. So it says, there may be a few individuals that have the trait for antibiotic resistance. These are called resistant bacteria. If a person does not take antibiotics, the bacteria living in that person's body do not experience antibiotics in their environment. So the few resistant bacteria will not have any advantages over the non-resistant bacteria and will not reproduce more than others. This trait for resistance to antibiotics will not be favored and pass to offspring over time. In other words, the bacteria population will not adapt to become resistant to antibiotics. So pretty much what that paragraph was saying, because it said it in a roundabout way, pretty much what that paragraph was saying was, if you are taking antibiotics, the bacteria that has the resistant gene, they're then going to have an advantage. They'll be able to survive. Even though you're taking antibiotics, they'll be able to survive. And because they're the ones with the advantage, they'll be the ones that reproduce more, and they'll be the ones that stick around in your body. You'll see more of the ones that have the resistant gene in your body. Whereas if you're not taking antibiotics, then the ones that have the resistant gene, they don't have an advantage. So they'll still be reproducing just as equally as the ones that are not resistant. Can you read the next paragraph, Elizabeth?
Sure. If a person takes antibiotics, the resistant bacteria will survive and reproduce. The non-resistant bacteria will die. If this process continues, most of the bacteria population will have the trait for antibiotic resistance. If antibiotics are taken rarely, the population will not have time to adapt and the bacteria will die. The more often antibiotics are taken, the more chances the bacteria have to adapt and develop resistance.
All right, so pretty much what that's saying is if we keep taking antibiotics every single time there's something slightly wrong with us, our body is going to have all these bacteria that are immune to the antibiotics, and eventually those antibiotics are not going to work. But if we only take antibiotics when they're necessary, then we will have, our body will be able to withstand, because the bacteria will not be resistant, or most of the bacteria will not be resistant to the actual antibiotics. Hey, Ms. Simmons. All right, so can you read that next part for us too, Elizabeth, please?
The one that said, "What do you think?"
Yep, under that. What do you think?
What do you think? People spray
Pesticides.
pesticides on crops to kill insects that eat and destroy the crops. However, these insects are becoming resistant to the pesticides, and explain how this could happen.
All right, so it's the same thing as antibiotics. We take antibiotics to kill bacteria. The farmers, they use pesticides to kill the insects that tend to eat their crops. So in the comment section, before Elizabeth helps and gives us her thoughts on it, in the comment section, I'm going to give y'all some wait time. What do you think? What did you put for this question here? Or what would you put? People say People spray pesticides on crops to kill insects that eat and destroy the crops. However, these insects are becoming resistant to pesticides. How could this happen? How is it that the insects are becoming resistant to pesticides? Post your answer in the comment section below, and then I'm going to ask Elizabeth to share her thoughts. Good afternoon, my loves. We're in the week 5 packet. We're on the article. We're at the end of the article. We just read about the antibiotics, and now we're at the question that says, what do you think? And it asks about pesticides. Okay, I have one person, thank you, Genesis, that says they have become immune. I like the fact that you use the terminology that I use. Darren said, I think they are used to it and probably adapted to it. Again, great use of terminology. I love it. Good job. Both of those answers are great answers, and both of those would be sufficient. You could write both of those down for that question. If you spray too much, they will become immune to the pesticides. Great job. Thank you again. So good job, Kwalik. They get immune to the pesticide in LA. Become immune to the pesticide. It doesn't affect them. Okay, yes. Okay, I think your phone was trying to be smarter than you. All right, great job. Clara, great job. I know what you meant to say. All right, Elizabeth, what would you say? What would your answer be?
To describe this, I would say that people spray it because they don't want insects to eat their crop, so they invent something to protect their crop and have enough food for them.
Okay, well, yes, that's why we use the pesticides. But the question is asking, why is it that some of the insects that used to be affected by the pesticides, the insects that used to die from the pesticides, they're now becoming resistant to the pesticides. The pesticide is not killing them. Why is that?
Because it's like they're used to it. Because, for example, they're before that, like more and more insects are trying to do that to eat crops. So it's like an adaptation that they have.
Okay, beautiful. I love the fact that you use the word in there. They have an adaptation. So the insects that are surviving or resisting the pesticides have an adaptation. That's also a great answer. Thank you, Lisbeth. Thank you, Kalara. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Kwalik. I had another great answer. Thank you, Genesis. Anybody else have an answer? Yep, it was homework. Anybody else have an answer for this question? All right, we're going to move ourselves forward. Anybody else have an answer for this question? Randy, I'm already on to you. It's all right. Yes, thank you, Mark, because they are immune to our, I'm guessing you wanted to say pesticide, immune to our pesticides. All right, moving forward, I'm going to read the next section. It says, what do you know? Adaptation by natural selection over several generations is one important process by which species change over time in response to changes in environmental conditions. Traits that support successful survival and reproduction in the new environment become more common. Those that do not become less common. Thus, the distribution of traits in a population changes. Take a look at the table below. The left column lists examples of environmental changes. For each example, describe an adaptation that would help a plant or animal survive. Be creative but accurate. There are many possible answers. So I recreated this table here in a PowerPoint so that I could type in it and you all can see the answers that we're sharing. So I'm going to go to that now. All right. So here is that same exact table. So again, on the left side, they gave us 3 different environmental changes. And then they asked us to come up with adaptations that a plant might have that would help it survive. And then adaptations that an animal might have that would help it survive. So, persistent drought. What is a drought, Elizabeth?
Think dry.
Yes, exactly. So a drought is when there's a lack of water. So if it says persistent, right? Sometimes in class I say great persistence or great perseverance. Persistent is when something continues on. Even though it might last for a long time, it continues on. So persistent drought means there's a long or continuous drought. Okay. So thinking about a drought, right? There's a lack of what again?
This would no like wait again. You said that it it means like it doesn't have like for example no water like running out of water.
Great job. So there's a lack of water. So if there's a lack of water, what's one adaptation that a plant might have that would help it to survive in an area that's dealing with drought?
A cactus?
Okay, so yes, okay, so that's an example. So let's take that cactus and build on that. So a cactus can survive in areas that are really, really dry, right? Why did I
Yeah.
say, and I think I mentioned it last class, I mentioned it this class, and I think I mentioned it the class before that as well. What is it that a cactus has that helps it to survive in hot, dry areas?
It stores it stores water in the inside of them.
Okay, so do you remember where it stores the water?
Like I think inside of them, like for example, you when you cut a cactus, you can see like it has kind of water in it.
Okay, so there's a part, so all living things are made of what?
Water.
I mean, we all have water, but all
Wait,
living things are made of what?
we all have
So Malik, hold on to that thought. I'm going to ask you to share that thought in a little bit. But all living things, y'all can help her out in the comment section. All living things are made of
cells.
what? Cells. Great job. So all living things are made of cells, right? And if all living things are made of cells, there were parts inside the cell. There was one part that was responsible for storing water. Does anybody remember which part stored the water? Which part stored the water?
Is it the roots?
Well, we're going to talk about roots in a second, but the roots are made of cells, and there's a part inside the cell that stored water. And in the cactus, this part is extra big. It's bigger than most plant cells. Does anybody remember what that part was? Storing extra water in the what? What was the part of the cell that stored the water? Not the nucleus. I love the fact that we're thinking, though. I love the fact that we're throwing out answers. Good job. Let's see if anybody can get that, though. What is the part of the cell that stores the water? I give one hint. It starts with a V. It starts with a V.
Valcos?
Yes, great job. Storing extra water in the vacuole. So that's one adaptation. Storing extra water in the vacuoles. That's one. And then you mentioned roots. Malik and Kalera also mentioned roots, right? I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so I can fit more in this box. Maybe I didn't make it smaller. Okay. But I was zooming. So you can store extra water in your vacuoles, and it had roots. What was different about a cactus's roots compared to most plants? What did we say was different about a cactus roots compared to most plants?
That is that. Wait, all plants have water.
All plants need water, yes, but there was something special about the cactus roots. So Marquette hit it right on the head. Good job, Marquette. They are longer. So cactus roots are typically longer than most plant roots because the cactus has to be able to pull water from multiple different sources that may not be right near the plant. So having longer roots, I'm going to put that in as well. Having longer roots. Having longer roots was another adaptation that was helpful for a plant trying to survive consistent drought. Now, thinking about an animal, right? If an animal is trying to survive a drought or an animal lives in a dry area, what's one thing or one adaptation that animal might have?
Wait, snakes lives in the desert, right?
Snakes do live in deserts. They also
Yeah.
live in a variety of places, but snakes do live in the desert.
Yeah, so I think they used to the hot weather and with no water.
Okay, what is it? So snakes are able to survive in a variety of climates. Um, but what helps the snake survive in areas that does not have a lot of water?
Their their skin are dry,
Okay.
so
So their skin is made of scale. That's kind of that's hitting on something, but y'all are missing something. So going back, we said all living things are made of what?
cells.
So again, if a plant is able to store water in its cells, don't you think some animals will be able to do the same thing?
Yeah.
So that same thing can go over to the other side. And again, I'm just gonna make it a little bit smaller so I can fit more in this box. So storing extra water in the vacuoles. And then Genesis hit on a great point. Camels is another example of an animal that tends to do well with very little water. And because their body is designed in such a way that they store extra water in areas of their body. So storing extra water in the vacuoles and I'm gonna build on that and other areas of the body.
Wait, a javelina too, right? Or
Who?
no?
You said a
Uh,
javelina? Yes, javelinas tend to do well in hot climates, but not necessarily dry, like drought-ridden climates. But I like the fact that you pulled from the packet, so clearly you're picking up information as we go. Good job. All right. So now the next environmental change, I'm going to move down. It says river changing course. Now somebody, and I'm not going to put them on blast because I don't know if they want me to share this information, but somebody asked me a really good question in the direct messages. They asked me, what does a river changing course have to do with animals and plants? And that's a good question because you got to remember when a river changes course, it takes a new path. And when it takes that new path, there were originally plants and animals that lived there, that were there, right? So that's impacting those animals and those plants that's in the new path of the river. And a river also has plants and animals that live alongside of it. So when that river changes course, those plants and animals, some of them can move to the river, some of them cannot move to the river necessarily. So some of them now are going without water. So what is some adaptations or an adaptation that a plant might have that would help it survive if the river changes course? And if you all have an answer, put it in the comment section. One adaptation that'll help a plant survive if a river changes course.
to store more water, in the cells, and
And keep going, you're doing good.
and make a lot of offsprings.
Okay. So we wouldn't say making a lot of offsprings, but storing that extra water is definitely going to be helpful. So we'll put that here as well. Now, when we talk about storing extra water, that's for those plants that aren't able to move to the river, right? But what about the plants that are in the way of the river?
I think so. The plants who are not near the river, I think they with the water. Sometimes the water goes up, and sometimes they move somewhere else.
Okay, so but think about it. Plants can't just get up and say, "Oh, this is too much for me. I gotta go." They can't just do that. They're rooted in the ground. So even though plants can kind of shift to whichever area has more sun, they can't necessarily get up and move. So if a river is coming, they can't say, "Oh, hurry up, move." They can't do that. So what kind of plants would be able to survive if now all of a sudden you have a river running on top of you?
Uh,
Okay, I like the fact that in the comments section I'm seeing some creative ideas. Having longer or deeper roots might also help the plant because again, if they initially lived on that river bed or on the edge of the river, and now that river moves, they might need longer routes to get to the water now. So we'll add that having longer routes. We have storing water. Good job, though. So are there plants that live in water?
Yeah,
Yeah. So what do you think enables them to be able to live in water and not drown necessarily, not have too much water?
because because they may have like the roots in like bottom of the sea. I think they may be really long or deep.
Okay, so that root piece might play a role in it. You also have to think about the fact that there's a process called osmosis where water kind of diffuses in and out of an organism. And some plants are built differently so that their cells naturally let in and out more water. And so they can maintain that balance better. Um, so we're going to put plants, and I'm going to introduce a new term, plants that have more hydrophilic cells. Hydrophilic is a term used when something does well or is okay in water. It's the opposite of hydrophobic. Now let's talk about animals, right? So we're talking about animals, and all of a sudden you have this river. So some of these animals are dependent on that river being in one place, and that river moves. And some of these animals are not used to that river being next to their habitat or running on top of their habitat. So what kind of animals are going to do well if the river changes course? Because now some of these animals are used to being on land, and now they have to be in water. So what kind of animals would do well there?
Fishes, crocodiles, and snakes,
Okay.
and
So, pause. What you just mentioned, crocodiles. What's one thing that helps a crocodile live on land and in water?
I think there's cells.
Okay, yes, there's cells, but what's something that's different about their frogs is also mentioned in the comment section, and frogs have the same thing I'm referring to. What's something that crocodiles and frogs and ducks they all have that helps them live on land and on water?
Uh, no, it's not a.
Okay, what's unique about them though? Y'all are close. Y'all are so close. What is unique about the frog's feet? What's unique about the crocodile's feet?
They got water feet to
Okay,
swim.
it's not called water feet. It starts with a W though. If you're on to something, they have webbed feet. Thank you, Quali. Thank you, Genesis. They have webbed feet. So having webbed feet would help because you'd be able to survive on land and in the water. Because we're running low on time, I'm going to move us on to the next one. So then the next one says air pollution, right? So when you talk about air pollution, and I'm going to help us out a lot with this one because I'm not sure if it's something that you have gone over in fifth grade or not. When you talk about air pollution has a lot of different factors in it. There's a lot of chemicals that go into the air, and those chemicals can impact the carbon dioxide that the plants need to take in. So some plants have enzymes. Some plants have enzymes to help break down chemicals and what they're able to do is take those chemicals that naturally in the air that come with that air pollution, and they can pull out the carbon dioxide. Or if the carbon dioxide is not naturally in there, they can combine elements within that those chemicals and create carbon dioxide from carbon and oxygen. So some plants have those enzymes that are able to thrive in areas where where there's a lot of air pollution. Some plants are also really good at purifying the air, like snake plants, aloe vera, great job, Kwali, bamboo. So some plants are able to purify. So genetic traits that purify air. Again, so some of the plants are able to purify air, and some of the plants just have enzymes that are able to break down those chemicals. Now, when it comes to animals, that air pollution results in a lot of different things. You tend to have chemicals in the air. They tend to impact your habitat, but you also end up with acidic rain. So those are different things you have to worry about. But for the most part, when you talk about animals in a jungle or a forest, when we talk about that, you got to think about air pollution. Oftentimes kills trees. It oftentimes kills a lot of the plants that produce berries. Stick with me, Sean. So, with that being said, if you're killing off their food source, if you're killing off their habitat, what's one adaptation that an animal might have that will help them survive, even though the air pollution is killing off their habitat?
They can fly.
It can what?
For example, the birds, they have an advantage because they can fly.
Okay, so being able to migrate, or having wings might be an advantage. I like that. What other advantages can we think of? So I'll add that here. Wings. Says you can move to a new habitat. Stay focused, y'all. Stay focused. It doesn't matter who's son, who's daughter. Stay focused. We almost there. Having wings would be helpful. So let me say this: if I were an organism, or like I'm a deer, right, and I eat mostly berries. If I eat berries, and let's say the pollution kills all of the bushes that produce berries in that area, what's gonna happen to me?
Could you repeat it again?
I can. So if I'm a deer and I eat berries, and air pollution from a nearby factory kills off all the bushes that produce berries, what's gonna happen to that deer?
It will not eat anything.
It won't have anything to eat, and what will happen to the deer?
It can die.
It'll die, right? But now let's say that, again, let's say I'm talking about a bear, right? So now let's say I'm the deer, I didn't have any berries, so I passed. But my friend the bear comes along, and the bear, he also eats berries, but because all the bushes with berries are gone, what is that bear going to do?
Eat the animals.
He's going to go eat animals. So some organisms can eat more than one thing. Some organisms are genetically inclined. So I'm going to put genetic inclination to eat multiple sources of food. That way they're not dependent on one source of food, and if that one source of food goes extinct in the area or is no longer available, then that species would die out. You'd be able to find another thing to eat. All right, so we're going to clearly stop here. What I'm going to ask you all to do is to make sure that you have this graphic organizer on a page that says day 3 and 4 completed. In this section here, they're pretty much just asking you all for definitions for the first 4 boxes, and you can pull all of that from the article. And then they're asking you to explain how that would affect populations, or how that would affect the animals that live in that environment. So we'll pick up there on Monday. Make sure that you try and complete this, because we also have to do this page, and this page does take a good bit of time because we have to do a short writing prompt. Does anybody have any questions before I wrap up for today? Any questions before I wrap up for today? All right, so if everybody's all right, I'm seeing mostly no's. If everybody is okay and we're ready to move forward, just make sure that you all are here at 1 o'clock on Monday. We're gonna finish up this packet. What I will do is, I don't want to put the week 4 the packet for the packet for week 4 distance learning. I don't want to post that video yet until we finish this packet. So I'll probably end up posting it on Tuesday, since we didn't finish it today. And you all can check that out when you have time, and fill in your week 4 packet. And then we'll go over it on that next Wednesday. But please make sure you're looking out for that video when it does come out. And if you have any questions, go ahead and send them to me in a direct message. Also, please make sure that if you are doing the extra credit work that you're sending it to me. I'm going to put in grades for fourth quarter today. And as of right now, I have 3 people who have done extra credit assignments. I have a few people who have turned in homework via direct message. Please make sure you're turning in your stuff so you can get your points for fourth quarter. You all should have earned 20 points this week. If you haven't done any of the extra credit assignments on the class page, go ahead, check out that Brain Pop video and send me your quiz results. Answer some of the bio and breakfast questions. Do what you have to do to get your points. All right. I will see you all on Monday. Be great. Be amazing. Do not work your parents' nerves. Make sure you study and you stay on task. I love you all. Bye. Thank you, Lisbeth.
You're welcome.